we're back with 843 TV, and part of our host today, we have Shellring Aleworks, which is a new brewery here in Beaufort, and we're delighted to introduce you. We have Nick and Ryan, and the gentlemen are going to give us a little bit of the inside of what we can have for an experience here. Well, first I want to introduce you to Nick, who's a co-owner, and we were talking off camera. We found out a little bit about that. This is just opened a month ago.
Yeah, we've been here a month, about 3.5 years in planning. We're thrilled to be open and finally see everything come to fruition.
Well, Nick here is the head brewer, and he was brought in from Minnesota, to my understanding.
That is
Welcome
true.
to the Lowcountry.
Thank you.
And you've been a brewer for 13 plus years.
This will be my 13th year, yeah.
So tell us about the interest here.
Well, coming from Minnesota too, it's a cold place. My wife's a Texan as well. And so we were kind of looking for someplace warmer. And also South Carolina, the food and the culture of South Carolina has always been something pretty interesting to me. You know, you got a lot of chefs that are renowned here too. And so kind of to come here, and then also the idea of living kind of in between Charleston and also be able to go to Savannah too, the kind of smaller town living as well, is kind of what brought us here.
And it's warmer.
It's warmer. It's much warmer, yes.
So let's get down to it, because you have to stop here and take a look, number one, because it's right by the water. We have the ships. It's really just low country feeling. But tell us the inspiration behind this, because it was like 3 years in the making, right?
Yeah. Well, thanks to the Beaufort Economic Corporation for helping us get to this point. While we were building this, we started to kind of ponder and just wanted to invoke the true feelings that we had about the community here. So that's how we came up with the name Shellring Aleworks. You know, the local Shellrings, for those of you that don't know, there's about over 40 of them in South Carolina. There's one right down the road from my house, less than a quarter mile. They are the indigenous people's gathering place. They used to have their ceremonies there. They used to share meals there. And basically it would be similar to today's oyster roasts. And instead of putting the oyster shells in a bucket in the center of the table, they threw them over their shoulder and created this ring. After many parties and ceremonies, the ring actually started to grow taller and taller, and then they realized that it could actually protect the village, so they moved into the shell ring. So that communal feeling is what we aspire to be in today's Beaufort and Port Royal area.
I love the philosophy too. One thing about the shell rings also, this is like 4,500 years ago. I mean, this has been a long time. And you're absolutely right, how the history and bringing it forward in modern day is a great idea. I mean, it just means a lot, because Beaufort's very authentic. It's a low country town. A lot of great things are happening as we talk to other people on the show. And what you're up to, again, people love, IPAs. A lot of people love the new brewery. So we got to get down to a little bit more about, if you look around, there's barrels here, and how many beers you're offering. Tell us a little bit about your menu.
Right now we have 4 core beers that we're canning that you'll be able to see in the supermarket soon. But here in the tap room we have 12 rotating, which will always include those 4. But it runs the gamut from fruited sours, imperial stouts, and barrel aged mixed culture beers. Yeah,
well, we're putting berries. This piece here, this one here. I just think it's a very pretty looking beer, and I love the way you served it in a wine glass. So I'm really happy at this moment in time. But tell me about this one, because I'm not seeing a pink beer.
Okay.
So it's a sour. So it has lactobacillus in there. Same kind of culture that you would use in yogurt, for example, that creates sour. If you let it sit unworked, which is what liquid is before it turns into beer, it actually becomes sour. And then you boil it off to kill off that bacteria, so it actually doesn't get into your tanks. But then we add blackberry and raspberry puree into there as well. And it goes into the fermentation side.
So the recipes, where do you have the inspiration for this?
Sometimes they just kind of come with it. So when it comes down to something sour, you actually want something a little less alcohol, a little bit of wheat to actually add some body to it. And then that also helps accentuate the fruit that's in there as well. And this jelly, which is one of our year-rounds, also has a little bit of vanilla to actually cut the acidity of the actual fruit itself to actually bring back a little sweetness.
It sounds like I should taste it. Let's see.
Let's go for it.
All right, because I see you have others in your hands, so let's take a look. has all kinds of flavors. It had a front flavor, like a berry or something sour or something. And then all of a sudden, it's like 12 different tastes, flavors that just came through.
Yeah, and with something like that too, on the sour side, you generally not throwing that many hops in there like you would for an IPA example. There still needs to be hops in there as a beer, but
And it's not hoppy.
it's not hoppy at all.
No, but it has a fruity. It's like a summer drink. Can it be considered a summer beer?
Oh, absolutely.
Available all year round, which
All
is
year
pretty
round.
much, to me, as I said, coming from the cold, it's kind of like summer all the time here, so I can drink it all the
So
time.
tell me about your beer. That's a little more amber.
Yeah, so we actually, with having the 4 cores that we always have on tap, we have the possibility to brew 8 other beers. And so I really like this classic kind of West Coast pale ale. So this one's called Old School American Pale Ale, Centennial hops and Idaho Gem hops. So it's a little bit on the danker side, and then also nice and citrusy and bitter as well.
Okay, Nick, and what about yours?
I'm drinking the Hop Doctor, which is our year-round hazy IPA.
All right.
So named after a root.
So it's a
local
very
root
smoky
doctor.
taste. Is it?
Well, it's very juicy.
Okay.
You know, and there's a very very minute amount of bitterness in the background, but it's mostly juicy and aromatics and citrus aromatics.
Well, I highly recommend you got to stop by here. But also, I just want to share good news with you. Today, they are actually going to market.
We
You
are.
are now sending your cans out on a truck, and they are now ready for the public to have.
Exactly.
And that's a great celebration.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we
Cheers.
wanted the cheers, exactly. We want to thank you so very much. Anything else? Do you have an event? Do you have a grand opening coming up in a couple of months, maybe?
Oh, we do. It's not scheduled yet, but we will have that soon with the Beaufort Area Hospitality Association and the local Chamber of Commerce.
Right,
Absolutely.
exactly. And then you can always find you on your website. I mean, you can be found, and you're open in 7 days.
We are currently open 5 days until we work through some of the kinks to give our staff some time off, rather than working them every day until, you know.
Well, Nick and Ryan, nice to meet you,
Nice
and
to meet
thank
you
you
too.
for inviting us in. And this is 843 TV, where communities come to speak. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.